Buenas tardes, chicos. Esta tarde vamos a hablar sobre la voz pasiva usando el pronombre se. So this is a discussion of the passive voice in Spanish. Some of you may not know what that is, but in English you may have gotten comments on a paper or something along those lines about your use of the passive voice and wanting you to use the active voice. So I'm going to teach you now how to use the passive voice in Spanish because it's actually used quite a bit for giving instructions, for signs. You can often see it. And in our particular case, we're going to use it to talk about recipes and instructions. So let's go for it. So when we talk about something being done without saying who does it, we use the passive voice in English. This might be something like, fish is sold at the fish market. That would be in comparison with something like, I sell fish at the fish market, or the vendors sell fish at the fish market. So this is the is sold. We don't know who's selling it, but we know it is sold. So that's the passive voice in English. In Spanish, the pronoun se is used to express this idea. So we would say something like, se vende pescado en la pescadería. So we put the verb, which is vende, vender, in the third person, which is the L or AR form, and we put a se in front of it. And that's how we say fish is sold in the fish shop, pescadería. When you are talking about a plural, you'd say, se venden papas en la verdulería, which means potatoes are sold in the vegetable shop. Okay, so the only difference there you might have noticed is that en, okay, on se venden, and that's what happens because this word, okay, is plural. Okay, let's see that an example of that again. So the verb is singular or plural depending on the subject. Okay, so when we're going to say, if we're going to say the onions, next you cut the onions, or next you should cut the onions, we're going to say se cortan las cebollas, because this las cebollas is plural. If we're going to say cut, next you're going to cut the onion, we're just going to say se corta, no en, la cebolla, because it's singular. Okay, so that you either have just the regular third person singular or the third person plural, and depending on what the second part is telling you. Okay. Some other possible examples of this, you'll often see the se construction, that's the se, right? Construction used to express ideas such as, they speak Spanish here, Spanish is spoken here, one speaks Spanish here, or people speak Spanish here. These are all ways of trying to translate the phrase, aquí se habla español. You may have seen that in a window of a restaurant or something along those lines. So for our purposes, for en la cocina, talking about kitchen stuff, this is common for recipes or giving instructions about how to cook something. So here's an example. Primero se lava la lechuga. Después se pican los tomates. Entonces se pican las zanahorias. Finalmente se mezcla. Think about that. What might that mean in English? See if you can put it together, and we'll talk about it in class tomorrow. Okay? And see if you can figure out, too, what is that preparing? What is that meal? Okay? So that's sort of your practice at the end. See if you can discuss what you think those things mean in English, and we'll talk about what you think that's preparing. So this is this is la voz pasiva con se, to make things in the passive voice. Muchas gracias, chiquilines, y nos veremos mañana en clase.